Hello, good evening, good day, whatever. Hope you guys are doing well. It's a day late as usual. The market's been too wild, so I've just been trading whenever I had the time to, and then I didn't have time to stream. That's why this stream's also going to be short because one, I need some sleep, and two, there's a little bit of trading to be done, I think. But anyway, before we start, big shout out to Wu for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. Their links are in the description. Go check them out. They've been excellent partners. Hey Doug, you mentioned on Twitter that you were trading a bunch the last few days. Can you go through a couple of trades and ideas? I mean, I've just been trading a bunch of altcoins back and forth. It's not really too interesting. But it's volatile, so you can capture a bunch of percentage here and there. But I wouldn't even say I traded it perfectly well. It's like up and down, P&L. Could be better, could be worse. Hey Doug, hope you and the family are well. Yeah, we're doing all right. Let's jump straight into it because it's a short stream. You're going to get a long one tomorrow with Cred and me. So, like, not a stream, but a video. Bitcoin looks good on all time frames. The monthly held, the monthly breakout seems to be real. We have 16 days left. Doesn't really seem likely that we're close below it. I think the chances of that is 0 point something percent, probably 0.0 something percent. So that's a really good time frame. It's technically like a high time frame breakout. And unless we come back below 70K, should assume that that's high time frame bullish, right? The weekly time frame, we have a little bit of a wick here, but nothing terrible. It's price discovery. Doesn't really matter like that you have this wick as long as we're in price discovery, right? Like a bunch of people are like, oh, it's pulled back a bunch. We're basically in uncharted territory, right? So I wouldn't put too much on that. It's obviously going to have to pull back eventually, right? And like the last few days have been that. Where it gets a little bit less good looking is the daily time frame, and that's like the first actively actionable time frame. We've kind of been consolidating / pulling back today, and the last couple of days generally have been going sideways. It's not bad, but there's a little bit of weakness there, but that is kind of obvious given that it just went from 60 to 90K in a straight line. Took a little bit in between. We had this consolidation where a bunch of people that front ran Trump, the Trump win, kind of repositioned themselves. And I think that's why it took us a couple extra days to kind of start moving. But yeah, there's really, like, the thing is, like, on Bitcoin, there's no actionable a time frame below the low time frames at this point, just because we are at all-time high, and then you cannot really draw lines or whatever. People might try, but I think it's useless. You are better off just either going to low time frames or trading momentum as a whole. The 4 hours a little bit weak, and the reason why I'm saying that is because we're kind of like stabbing into this cluster here, and haven't really been able to move off of it yet. But that said, like, even if this pulls back a little bit, it looks like that's still fine. The only area where it starts getting not fine is, like I said, on the 70s to 80K. Like, if you get below 80K, it starts looking kind of shitty. Right now, technically you're in an area of support, right? It's low time frame support, it's low time frame consolidation, but it's the first time we've tested support, right? So you should assume that that's most likely gonna hold. But yeah, I mean, with price action like this, it's really hard to get any actionable signal other than like just very, very low time frame ones. Like during times like these, I even pull out like the 1 hour chart, whatever. I don't usually even look at these, but yeah, when the high time frames are just straight up vertical, you kind of have to make do with what you have. Why is XRP pumping? Is it too late to jump in? I don't know if it's too late or not. But we'll talk about XRP. It's one of the trades I've been doing. Is there any possibility Bitcoin goes to 40K or never anymore? I mean, there's never say never, but 40K seems really low at this point. But yeah, here you can see the weakness, right? Like we had like a breakout that didn't do anything. We had like a lower high here, and now we're struggling again, like a prior support. We're struggling as resistance. That's where like a little bit of the struggle comes from, right? So low time frame, like very, very low time frame. It's kind of developing a bearish market structure. I don't really think it matters much. It's a 1 hour time frame. If anything, you're gonna get a washout. I do think, like just generally from how altcoins and Bitcoin is set up, that if Bitcoin dumps, right? Like if Bitcoin dumps to 84, 83, maybe even 80, like if you get like a proper washout candle, and at this point right now that would be a washout candle just by because the market's been moving less, like the pullbacks have been more shallow the entire rally basically, so 10% pullback would be quite significant. I think a lot of these altcoins would look really fucking terrible really fast, but I think those would be kind of dips to buy, right? I think generally with where the market is right now, don't really need to concern yourself too much whether Bitcoin has topped for the cycle. I think it's more important to kind of get the altcoin rotation right, because there's going to be one. I think at current prices, like Bitcoin at 80, 90, 100K, I think it makes a lot of sense to assume that retail is going to come back in, and that would mean like altcoin rotations. So I think that's more important than getting the Bitcoin timing right. But yeah, if it pulls back, I think like just generally 82, 83K, that's an interesting region. I'm not entirely sure if we're gonna get it. Could just oops, it's wrong. Like you can just basically draw something. Like that's kind of where we are right now. If that breaks down, right? Bunch of people are gonna get licked, and then I think it's probably gonna bounce. That's kind of what's happening right now. I think a bunch of over-leveraged fools are getting squeezed. And the reason why I said like the altcoins is because a lot of these altcoins, like if you look at Solana, for example, they actually don't look so good in comparison, like in stark contrast to Bitcoin, right? So Solana obviously looks good, right? Broke out, but it's struggling with that breakout massively. And I think a lot of people have been positioning themselves for these kind of breakouts, and they didn't really materialize, which just puts all of those people in danger. So if Bitcoin pulls back a little, I think those are going to pull back a lot, and then you're going to get a washout, and then they're pretty much probably going to go back to where they are right now pretty much immediately. But could easily see a leverage wipe there on the altcoins. Is Doge going to $1? I still think so, yeah. Coinbase app already ranked 9 in the App Store. Yeah, I think it's getting very heated. Just generally, you can tell. The mood is getting, like it's very different now. How about Doge, low time frame? We'll go over Doge. But yeah, this is kind of like, you look at this, and this is where it starts getting a little bit scary on the altcoin front, just because it's the biggest range we've had in a long time, the biggest range breakout with all the eyes on it, and didn't really do shit. So yeah, not too encouraging for Sol, but it is still a breakout, right? And as long as it holds 180, that's technically bullish. So if it does wipe out, maybe 185, and then maybe we get the actual breakout. If it doesn't wipe out, maybe we need Bitcoin to just move a little bit further for the altcoins to go. But yeah, this one looking weak in comparison to a lot of other things. Dogecoin still very strong. Yeah, still think even if this pulls back a bunch, I still think as long as the crypto market stays heated, and I think it's gonna stay heated for at least a couple of weeks, targets must be like, I think targets make sense to be higher, like 0.58 here, and then the meme resistance at 1. So yeah, Sol's struggling a little bit. Doge still looks excellent. XRP, it's been breaking out. It's one of the ones that I've been actively trading. It's a monthly breakout right now. If it sticks it, you never know, right? But if it does stick it, that's a monthly breakout. And then there's really not that much resistances, right? So there's a resistance at 1.5, which would be a 2x away, and then one at 3.6, which is a 4x. And that's pretty much it. That's why I'm trading it, just because it's pretty clear trade. Like, it's a pretty clear trade. I got in quite cheap. And I think it's the unit size bias that new people have. Aids XRP quite well, right? Like, it's below $1. People are going to be like, oh, that's cheap. It's also like the one that people know. So I could see a bunch of people coming back, like a bunch of 2017 people come back and just trade the stuff that they're comfortable with, that they know. XRP is one of them. So I like XRP on those. I generally dislike XRP though. So this is one of the ones where you're just gonna, like, the moment I see something I don't like, I'm gonna mercilessly dump it, just because I fucking hate XRP. But I think price-wise, that's a good one. So yeah, there you go. Like, that's basically it. Like, there's obviously lower time frame stuff too. We kind of broke out above 0.6, but just generally, like, this is just a massive consolidation, technically speaking. Like, look at that, months and months of consolidation. That is now starting to resolve to the upside. Like, that's a good looking chart. So yeah, XRP BTC, that actually was a little bit of like the worry that I had before I entered the XRP position, because I was like, XRP BTC kind of looks like shit. It was in an area of support, right? So if you kind of like box historical lows, that is kind of where it was. So it was in an area of interest, but like, it didn't really, like, it's not like there was a strong move there. But now that we have, so I entered on this red day because I was like, I saw the green candle and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. Entered on the red day, and now we have like a massive dildo on the Bitcoin pair. So that kind of, like, at least you have the momentum. That said, you have to be careful with XRP. Like, don't just assume it's gonna go to infinity. Most of the time, these kind of big momentum candles actually end up in the market just bleeding out. The only times where that is not the case is when there's like a proper altcoin season, right? So in 2017, you had big up candles that resulted in just infinity, right? Like, XRP went from nothing to quite a bit. And the same happened. Also, yeah, that was early 17. That was late 17. And if you go on the XRP USD pair, you have the same thing, right? So most of the time when you see green candles, the full retraces. But in 2017, you started getting big candles and it just teleported. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for on that trade. But it really doesn't have to happen, right? There's never any guarantees. But it's a good breakout. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for XRP. It's not really that interesting. Targets are far away. It's a breakout. It's pretty early on in the breakout. If crypto stays afloat, I think that's a decent bet. And then the next one is Litecoin. It's a little bit of a meme play, honestly. Like, Litecoin is probably a bad bet. But the Litecoin intern has been, the Litecoin Twitter has been firing off tweets that are actually hilarious, and they've kind of been starting to revive the whole thing. That actually got me to look at it closer. I made fun of it like the day before yesterday, because it was just kind of like capitulating. And then I looked at it again after and was like, actually, like it's actually capitulating on the Bitcoin pair. You had a massive move down. And we've had those kind of capitulation candles before, right? It doesn't have to lead to anything. We've had like similar things that didn't really play out, but just generally when Litecoin starts accelerating to the downside, usually like a decent bet. Usually a worse bet than other altcoins, but I'm quite familiar with it, so I was like, I'm just gonna take a chance at it, see how that goes. And on the USD pair, it's struggling with resistance right now. So this is one where it's actually quite early. And I think like if you actually get the pullback that I talked about earlier on Bitcoin, I could see this just reject again. But if it does reclaim this like diagonal, it starts looking quite good. Just has to do it. Struggling right now with it a little bit. ETH is so dead, Don is skipping it, it's too over. No, but these are the ones that I've been trading, and someone asked me what I've been trading. I've also traded Pepe, but I mean, that's just basically news trading, not too interesting. ETH I haven't touched, but I actually find, like just generally, I find ETH on the USD pair, I find it quite good looking. We talked about this COP triangle. It ran all the way to the resistance. It's dying off, like pulling off like a little bit now, but I think it's getting like if we get, and that's a big if, but if we get that washout that I was talking about on Bitcoin, I might actually get some ETH. But right now, like the problem is the ETH BTC pair looks like shit. Like that's garbage. What you tweeted is criminal, man. You literally implied the top and now you say you're long. I didn't imply the top. Like, crime is bullish, my friend, in crypto. The more crime you have, the more bullish it is. That's why Trump being president is bullish for crypto. That's why everything went up. You have misunderstood. What was your trade on Pepe exactly after the news? I mean, I basically saw the news and traded around it a bunch. Basically, whenever you get these kind of news, you get, especially if it's one that everyone's looking at, you get these massive impulse candles, and then it kind of overextends. But the first move is usually not the last, right? So you get one move up, and then you're gonna get a pullback that's quite aggressive, just because people are just piling in infinite. Which we got here, and then you get another one, like another impulse. That's almost always how it plays out with stuff that has eyes on it. With tried the same, right? So you got like an impulse move, you got a little bit of a pullback, a little bit weaker on the pullback side here, and then you get the second move. And you can usually like on the low time frames, you can play these. Like that's just straight up like 1 hour time frame where you get like these kind of like little pumps into a little bit of a consolidation, and you can play the second one. Second one is usually weaker, and then if it's significantly weaker, you can actually short the second push up. But yeah, you think Pepe is still a good bet? Pepe looks decent, yeah. Pepe kind of looks like Doge. I like Doge better than Pepe. I think it's more like you have the support of Elon basically, but yeah, that's it. I like Pepe better than Doge as the meme. I just think Doge has Elon support, and his stock went up like crazy with Trump being president. It's also Elon risk though, something that you have to remember. Like if Elon does something dumb, usually not so good for Doge. But yeah, there's a few others that have been trading well, but most of the altcoin market has just been dead. I got pretty lucky with picking dead coins that have never moved, that have now moved like a bunch today. Like XRP moved up a lot since I bought it. Litecoin moved up a little bit since I bought it. Everything else is kind of struggling. And I think that might actually get worse if Bitcoin breaks down. And you're going to have to... be nimble on that front. Like if Bitcoin breaks down a little, I think it's gonna come back up. I don't think that's the top to top, but yeah, if it breaks down a little more or a little bit aggressively, you're gonna see massive death and destruction on the altcoin order books, and I think that's an interesting place to play bounces from. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm just saying if it happens, that's a good place to play bounces. Isn't Elon coin peanut now? I have no idea. I don't stay up. Do you trade on Woo? What's your take on the liquidity? I got slipped always, even on 10K position size. Bybit and BitGet are way better than that. How do you manage it? Always with limit orders. I do trade on Woo. It's one of the exchanges that I use. I use pretty much any exchange out there. But yeah, it depends on kind of where you trade, what you trade. Usually it's not that bad. And if the slippage like fucks you proper, you can ask support, because that's usually not something that should happen, like not with that kind of size. Like if you're trading 7 figures, especially if you're trading short term 7 figures, right? Like, so basically if you're trading long term, doesn't really matter to you, right? You buy and you do it like in any other exchange too. And for that, it's completely fine. It's just a short term. Like if you're scalping like 7 figures, you should probably do it in an exchange that's like built for that. But anything lower than that, you should not have any issues. I've never had, like I trade smaller size on Woot. I just trade there for fun, basically. Like whenever I want to get the degen out, like I do a little bit of that on Woo, and I've never had those kind of issues. And I trade like 6 to low 7-figure positions there, so don't think that applies to most people. But obviously depends on what kind of altcoin you're trading. Only Don could FUD Sol while longing XRP. I mean, I'm not FUDding Sol, but it is one of the weaker ones right now that could obviously turn around. And I would actually be interested in getting into a long on that, but it's more interesting. It's more interesting when it actually starts putting in a little bit of work, because this is not it. Like that's not a breakout that I necessarily like. And I mean, like look at fucking XRP. Cannot really fault me for this. I longed it and it went up like 20%, maybe even more. I don't remember when I first bought it. I bought it spot and leverage. Did the same with Litecoin. If you were still in Doge, would you? Sorry about that. Would you sell at 5.6 or hold for meme target? Probably hold, but not entirely sure. Depends. Always depends on how you get there, right? Like it's very, very hard to judge before you are actually at those levels. Then sometimes I sell and then just rebuy the flush, because usually like when you get the big resistance levels, you usually hit them. And then you get a flush, and then sometimes you can like sell and then rebuy like 15-20% lower, and then just run it up some more. And like what I would usually do in those instances, I would just basically take those and re-enter with the same size and just keep the winnings, right? So for example, like if I'm pretty damn certain that that's a level that's gonna pull back, but it's gonna go higher after, I sometimes sold. I do that less nowadays, but I would sometimes sell and then capture the down move by being out of it, basically, out of the position, and then re-establishing like 10, 15, 20% lower, and then doing it with the same size, so basically keeping 10, 15% of the position in like taking risk out, basically, realizing some gains that way without actually having to have a lower position. How's the family done, and are you looking for another castle? So family is decent. I mean, my baby has been teething. She's over it now, but whenever she's like struggling, like I'm still tired from it. Basically, takes a couple of days to recover. But yeah, family's fine. I mean, wife's tired too, both tired, and now I'm trading, so it's like I'm not really helpful. But is what it is. And right now we're not looking for a castle now. No. But yeah, look at that. Bitcoin struggling big time. Unsurprising. So a little bit, I think it overshot a little bit for that push. When are we going to see you in the ring? Never. The only one that I ever offered it to was SC, trader SC, and he has not come back to me. He likes to shit talk me, but then when I asked him to actually put up, he declined 3 times now. Do you think a flush is more likely than not at this point? I mean, we're kind of doing it already. Look at that. Like, it's already flushed like twice. It's just that this would be the 3rd extension of that flush. Like, that's a proper flush, and then that's a little bit of a weaker one, and this is kind of setting up for the next one. But yeah, we'll see about it. Why isn't Ansem getting cancelled when all of CT knows that he's scamming? Because people don't really care. As long as the market goes up, people don't care. In the bear market, you're gonna see him get cancelled 100%, because a lot of people will have bought his coins and got completely wrecked. In the bull market, they're just like, fuck, well, next time. In the bear market, they're gonna be angry. So yeah. But yeah, I think that's it. I'll keep it short. Like I said, I need some sleep. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for my bags. We'll see how those go. The fact that I'm actually pivoting into altcoins more now, like I mean, you guys know I haven't really been talking about altcoins too much. The only thing that's really been interesting has been memes. Like low cap memes is the game that people have been playing. The fact that I'm pivoting a little bit and actually more interested in the altcoins than I am in Bitcoin means that we're getting into the more risky part of the cycle. So be careful out there. You're not ever guaranteed to get like an alt season or whatever, and Bitcoin is quite high now. So I gotta be a little bit careful. I'm just shifting into more risky things because I think that's where the market is headed. But if I'm wrong, I think there's gonna be blood to pay. So gotta be careful. But yeah, like I said, still, I think if this wipes and you get like a leverage wipe on altcoins, that's probably like a decent entry, and then see how that goes into the future. Like you're gonna get, like, let's say Bitcoin does this and then comes back up. You're gonna see like altcoins, like this is like a 5-10% move from here, right? But from basically where we were, like that's a 5% move. I think that's gonna lead to like 20% in altcoins to the downside. And then you just look what's strong, what's holding well, where are the eyes, and you trade those. Stop fighting me, Don. I mean, this is bullish. If I'm saying like, hey, you can get a wipeout, but you want to buy that one, that's a bullish thought, not a bearish one. Don, is it too late for XRP? Depends on how long you think the cycle keeps going for. I think it's still somewhat early, but if this, like, if we're gonna top in a week, then it might be late. When ETH pumps, do you think that will be a tell that cycle end is over? That the cycle end is there? Yeah-ish. I think ETH's probably gonna pump somewhat close to the end of the cycle, yeah. No, I mean, when you said Bitcoin too high, there will be no alt season. No, that's not what I said. I said that you don't, like, you're not guaranteed an alt season. Like, everyone keeps talking about this. And they're like, oh yeah, when alt season comes around, like, fuck yeah, whatever. You're not guaranteed. there's a good chance that it happens like it has in prior cycles, but it doesn't have to happen. People got burned like crazy in the last few years on crypto, so don't take people's like words for gospel. There's a good chance it happens, but it doesn't have to happen. This is the end of the run since Cardano pumped. I don't know. I don't think it's the end yet, but I think it's reasonably close. And I mean, I did before the election, this is what we drew, right? Like I did this and I was like, it's going to go there and then come back. If that happened, that'd be quite brutal. This is literally what I do. I have the chart somewhere. So maybe, but do you think ETH will break its previous all-time high? Yeah, I do think so. I do think that'd be cucked if it didn't. Holy shit. But yeah, I'll call it a night. Thanks for coming by. Much love. Big shout out to Wu for sponsoring the show. And yeah, we'll talk tomorrow. Bye bye.